Close your eyes and imagine this. You're biting into a warm slice of Swanson's TV dinner pie, sipping a glass of Tang, the same drink astronauts once had in space. Or maybe you're unwrapping a hostess snack cake that hasn't existed in decades. For so many of us, food wasn't just about taste. It was about culture, family, childhood memories, and that spark of excitement when something new showed up in the kitchen. From the 1950s all the way through the 1980s, grocery store shelves were filled with snacks, drinks, and meals that defined an era. Some became household staples, others disappeared far too soon. Today, we're taking a nostalgic trip through 4 decades of foods that should have never disappeared. Get ready to relive some sweet and savory memories. The 1950s were all about speed and convenience. Families were busier, television was exploding in popularity, and food companies rushed to create products that fit this new lifestyle. Take Swanson's TV dinners, launched in 1953. Imagine a shiny aluminum tray with turkey, mashed potatoes, peas, and a tiny dessert, ready in minutes. Families would gather around their brand new television sets and eat together without ever setting the dining room table. For kids, it felt like magic. For parents, it was a lifesaver. Today, frozen dinners still exist, but there was something special about those original Swanson trays. They represented the future, a future that somehow felt glamorous and practical at the same time. Around the same time, another product captured America's imagination: Tang. While technically launched in the late 50s, Tang really took off in the 60s when NASA used it on space missions. Suddenly, kids everywhere wanted to drink what the astronauts drank. It wasn't just orange-flavored powder, it was adventure in a glass. Mums would mix it up at breakfast, and kids would chug it down, dreaming of rocket ships and moon landings. The flavor was bold, the color neon, and the marketing irresistible. Today, Tang still exists in some parts of the world, but in the US it's more of a curiosity. For those who grew up with it though, Tang was pure outer space magic. Moving through the late 1950s and into the 1960s, convenience foods expanded even more. Canned pastas like SpaghettiOs became a pantry staple. That cheerful little O pasta in tomato sauce was marketed directly to kids. Easy to eat, not messy, and fun. For parents, it was inexpensive and fast. For kids, it was delicious. SpaghettiOs wasn't just a catchy jingle, it was a real part of childhood. While you can still find them today, the original taste and playful marketing belong to a bygone era. The 60s also brought the rise of novelty snacks. Who remembers Fizzies? These little flavoured tablets that you dropped into water created an instant soda. Kids loved watching them fizz and bubble. It felt like science class in the kitchen. Flavours ranged from root beer to grape, and even though they weren't exactly healthy, they were unforgettable. Sadly, Fizzies disappeared from shelves decades ago. And then there were frozen desserts like Borden's ice cream sandwiches or the original Jell-O 1, 2, 3. Jell-O 1-2-3 was a marvel, one mix that magically separated into 3 layers when chilled. A creamy top, a mousse-like middle, and classic Jell-O at the bottom. For kids, it was like eating a science experiment. For parents, it was a conversation piece at dinner parties. By the 1970s, food companies were chasing bold flavors and flashy packaging. One of the most beloved creations was the Marathon bar. Imagine a long braided chocolate and caramel bar that stretched out to an impressive 8 inches. Its tagline? Lasts a good long time. Kids loved unwrapping the red packaging to see just how long the bar really was. Marathon bars disappeared in the early 80s, but the memory of that chewy, chocolatey experience lives on. The 70s also gave us Hubba Bubba gum, which stood out because it was the first bubble gum marketed as soft and less sticky. Kids loved blowing giant bubbles without getting it all over their faces. The commercials, filled with cowboys and silly stunts, made Hubba Bubba part of playground culture. While the gum brand still exists, the original flavors and packaging have vanished into memory.
Another hit of the 1970s? Pizza spins. These crunchy, wheel-shaped snacks packed with pizza flavour were a lunchbox favourite. The mix of spices and crispy texture made them unforgettable. Parents liked that they weren't as messy as potato chips, and kids just loved that they tasted like pizza. Unfortunately, pizza spins were discontinued, leaving fans to hunt for copycat recipes online.
In the beverage aisle, the 1970s also brought us High C Ecto Cooler, famously tied to Ghostbusters in the 80s but introduced earlier in bright citrus flavours. Packaged in little juice boxes, it became the must-have drink for kids in the late 70s and early 80s. The neon green colour alone made it legendary. And then came the 1980s, a decade of excess, bold marketing and unforgettable junk food. If you grew up in the 80s, chances are you remember Hostess Chocodiles. Imagine a Twinkie but dipped in rich chocolate. The combination was heavenly and kids would beg their parents for them at every grocery trip. Sadly, they were discontinued in many regions and became almost impossible to find. The 80s also brought us pudding pops, famously advertised by Bill Cosby back then. These creamy frozen treats were the perfect summer snack, thicker and richer than regular popsicles. The texture was unique, somewhere between pudding and ice cream. Kids loved them, and parents loved how easy they were to keep in the freezer. Today you can find imitations, but nothing matches the original Jell-O pudding pops. Another unforgettable 80s product was PB Max. Imagine a candy bar stacked with peanut butter, oats, cookie, and chocolate. It was rich, filling, and delicious. Despite its popularity, PB Max was discontinued in the early 90s, supposedly because the Mars family wasn't fond of peanut butter. To this day, candy lovers beg for its return. Let's not forget about Keebler Magic Middles, shortbread cookies with a gooey chocolate center. Biting into one felt like a surprise every time. They were perfect for after-school snacks and became a cult favorite. When they disappeared, it left a cookie-shaped hole in many childhoods. And then there were quirky items like Pac-Man cereal, introduced in 1983. Sweetened corn cereal with marshmallows shaped like Pac-Man and his ghostly enemies. Saturday mornings weren't complete without a bowl of Pac-Man cereal and a cartoon marathon. It was sugary, colourful, and completely tied to the pop culture of its time. The 1980s also loved novelty drinks. Who remembers Clearly Canadian? Those glass bottles of fruit-flavoured sparkling water felt sophisticated, almost like soda for grown-ups but fun enough for kids. Or New Coke, the infamous experiment that flopped but became part of pop culture history. Looking back, what makes these foods so special isn't just the flavours, it's the memories tied to them. The first time you had a Swanson TV dinner while watching black and white TV, the excitement of dropping a fizzy tablet into a glass of water and watching it bubble, the joy of peeling open a pack of marathon bars or trading pizza spins at lunch. These foods defined not just meals, but moments. Food has always been a reflection of culture. In the 50s, it was about convenience and modern living. In the 60s, it was about fun and novelty. In the 70s, bold flavours and experimentation. And in the 80s, excess, pop culture and indulgence. Together, these decades created an edible time capsule that shaped childhoods and family traditions. Many of these products disappeared because of changing tastes, shifting health concerns, or business decisions. But in our memories, they live on. And maybe that's why nostalgia is so powerful, because when we think back to these foods, we're not just remembering the flavours. We're remembering family dinners, Saturday morning cartoons, after-school snacks with friends, and the pure joy of discovering something new. So while we can't always buy these foods anymore, we can celebrate them for what they gave us, moments of happiness, comfort, and connection. And who knows? Maybe one day a few of them will make a comeback. Until then, we'll keep craving the foods from the 1950s to the 1980s that should have never disappeared.